premium blends of all natural ingredients, herbs, and spices, you'll fall in love with meat all over again. Judge Joe Brown's all natural barbecue sauce collection is made up of 2 zesty flavors, original and spicy. There's only one way to bring order back to barbecuing. Just add Judge Joe Brown's all natural barbecue sauce and seasoning, and you be the judge. Hi. Oh, you see the phone here today. Good evening, everybody. Let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. I don't know what happened with the intro countdown, honey. I really don't. It paused for a minute. Hi, everybody. Guys, please hit the like button. Please share. Now, let me say this. Everybody who is a subscriber, right? And I'm saying this early for the people who are going to be watching the rebroadcast. Make sure you hit the bell button to get all notifications. And if you already have, press it again and then press it again. So press it to not get notifications and then go back and press it to get notifications, because some people are saying they're not receiving notifications when I go live. I wonder why, YouTube. So sometimes you have to unpress the bell and then press the notification bell again. So guys, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell, right? And like this video and share this video on all your social media outlets. Hello to everybody on X. How are you guys doing tonight? The judge will be up any minute. I did text him and said we are starting, and that was over 10 minutes ago. And we all know it's the same old story. He has Pony Express Wi-Fi. So we're going to have a good show. We do have a guest, because just about every show I like to do a Fani, WIllis, Fulton County, state of Georgia expose. And we have a guest coming up, and we're going to be talking to the mother and to this private investigator. So that will be later on in the show, probably about 30 minutes, like at 9:30. And the main topics for tonight, of course, I want to talk about Biden new amnesty executive orders. He's doing everything he can to make all these illegal migrants become citizens. So to make sure that they're safe, that they have a safe haven when a new administration comes in. But also Trump, who claims that he will be the top, what do you call it? What do you call it when you remove the illegal immigrants? Deportation president. He would be the top deportation president ever, right? He's been saying that for months. But all of a sudden today, he says, listen, he thinks it's a good idea. He proposes to give green cards to illegals if they end up graduating from college or a community college. So, yeah, he's throwing a little crack in between the lines as far as allowing illegal or undocumented people to stay. And I want to talk about Oakland mayor, honey. What is going on in Oakland? They got a shanty town. The Juneteenth shoot up. It was a Juneteenth celebration in Oakland and people got shot. And now the Oakland mayor got arrested. The FBI raided her home and arrested her. What is going on in Oakland? What is going on in California? San Francisco, I got a little clip on that. And towards the end of the show, when I'm going to start doing every live show, it's highlighting a historical landmark or significant event. And I meant to talk about this on Monday, the Soweto uprising. But that's going to be at the end of the show. I definitely want to bring that up. Have a little bit of Chicago news. And what else on this list? Trump immunity. Oh, honey. Yes, we got to talk about Nathan Wade getting roasted on Comedy Central. And I'm like, the audacity of you. The audacity of you to he's going on this media tour. Give me a second. Okay, the judge is coming on. Nathan Wade going on this media tour, worldwide tour. He's on Comedy Central making fun of him and Fani Willis' affair. And it's like that's a PR move to where they're trying to spin it, right? To make light of the situation, a deflection. And Americans love to laugh, they love to be entertained, they love the gossip, they love the tea. So this is a PR move. This is strategically done. You know, he went on CNN, now he's on Comedy Central. Wasn't he on NBC prior to that? So I don't know what's next, but yeah, so he allowed Marlon Wayans to make fun of him and Fani Willis' affair. And it's not a laughing matter. These are crooks. These are corrupt individuals. Fulton County DA office is corrupt. All of Fulton County is corrupt. And if you dig deeper, they're probably corrupt in other counties, but we're focused on Fulton County. So yeah, just to make light of that, like he is such a bozo. He needs money too. Well, he sold his home for $700,000. He sold his home. I think it's 4 bedrooms or something. I think he do need the cash. I think he does need the cash. Yeah. But either way, it's not a laughing matter. It's really not. I always ask him to come on the show like start logging on 15 minutes before we start, even if you have to just sit there, because then it becomes like a weight. It becomes a weight. All right. Let me see. I still don't see him. It was some other stuff I wanted to mention. Yo, what? What is going on today? What is going on? I don't have time to be dealing with this Wi-Fi. I really don't. And I'm not going to let stuff aggravate me. I'm really not. Listen, guys, if you have a question or a comment for the judge, please send it via super chat. It's just easier for me to catch it. Sometimes I do see some of your questions in the chat and I may highlight it. However, you know, it's nothing wrong with supporting the machine, supporting the platform as well. But make sure you hit that like button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, and share this video. Hi, Katalia. I don't see Southern Belle just yet. Hi, Derek. He is a member. Voodoo, Mika. Hi, guys. TJ. Hi, everybody. Next Thursday is going to be a very big show because it's the debate. It's the first presidential debate, which is going to be in Atlanta next week, Thursday, right? CNN is going to be hosting it in Atlanta, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Now, Kennedy, he doesn't qualify, apparently. He needed to have 15% of the voting poll in 5 major states or something like that. So he's not invited. And I don't think that's right. I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. should be on that debate stage. Now they have a whole bunch of rules and regulations. You know, their mics are going to be muted when it's not their time to speak. No one is going to be in the audience. You cannot use the teleprompter. You cannot use notes. But honestly, I still don't think it's going to be boring. It's going to be very entertaining because this debate is going to determine if Biden is going to drop out the race or continue on. We really want to get to see if this man has some type of ailment going on. So next week, Thursday, is a really big show, and I will be streaming it live. The judge will be here, honey. It starts at 9 p.m. the same time I start this show on Thursdays. So we are going to stream the debate live. So please, guys, tune in. Yes, stunt double. Now they're saying that he may have a stunt double. And of course, people with who's very tech with video, they're going to pick that up. I don't know if you guys also been keeping up with the YSL case today as well. Somebody said Kennedy is not a non-factor. Well, I think he is a factor. I think he is a factor. He does make a lot of valid points. I don't agree with a lot of some of the things he says. I think he is pro-Israel. That's a problem. But no, he is a factor. And I think that the Democrats and the Republicans, they know that. That's why they don't want him on the stage. Trust and believe. The Republicans and Democrats are working together to make sure that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is not taking away any percentage votes from them. So they're trying to X out any third parties. And if we go back into time to other presidential elections, remember Nader? He used to always run in the presidential elections. And it was the infamous George Bush and what is his name? He was vice president to Bill Clinton. What was Bill Clinton's vice president? I forgot his name. But that presidential election, see, if they didn't have that third party, was it Nader or was it somebody else, that old white man that always used to run? But the third party always messed up the presidential elections, right? Al Gore. Thank you, Al Gore. Yeah, because that was technically the Republicans still in the presidency with that the state of Florida controversy, right? But if they didn't have a third party there, then Al Gore probably would have became president. So a lot of times third parties can throw a serious can throw a serious monkey wrench in the presidential elections. And so I told the guests 9:30, because after the 5-minute, countdown, I like to just do like one easy, light topic with the judge. But it's really taken him this long to log on, and it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And I'm going to tell him that. It's like, Ross Perot, thank you. You really need to log on 10 minutes before I start the show. It takes you literally 15 or 20 minutes to get on. It really does. I wanted to talk about, actually, I'm going to share it with you guys then. Because I found this funny. Where is it? Did y'all see Birdman? He visited a prison. Let's see.
I help y'all. We have no access to. We have no access. I have enough power to make that happen. Okay, we need to be inside help for a leadership. For these guys having books to read upon the criminal. So you think read books on? I know this read books. I help you.
So this went viral, right? Birdman, he visited a prison talking to the inmates, and he said, I got enough power to help y'all. And one inmate said, okay, we need books to read. Then Birdman says, you think reading books gonna help y'all? I thought that was so funny, because that's like pure ignorance of him to even suggest that. That was ignorant of Birdman to think that books don't help inmates. First of all, it keeps them out of trouble. It educates them. And when you're educated, you're least likely to commit a crime or do something bad. A lot of these people probably have life for 30 plus years or 10 plus years. A lot of these people need legal books so that they could research their case to write appeals. So you damn right. That is a priority to make sure that that library is stacked with all types of books for these inmates. Inmates outnumber the correction officers. So why would you not want to share books or get books? So I can't believe he said that.
And I help y'all. We have no access to. We have no access to. I have enough power to make that happen. Okay, well, we need inside help for as leadership. For these guys having books to read upon the criminal. So you think read books on? I know this reading books.
He said, "You think these books gonna help y'all?" No disrespect to reading. What? Don't you know how to read all of those contracts? Since you claim, because he also said, well, books didn't make me become successful. Yeah, it did. You know how to read the contracts to make sure you wasn't getting robbed. Maybe you need to teach these artists how to read because they be getting robbed left and right. This is why people need to stop listening to entertainers. Just shut up and sing, shut up and rap. Even sports entertainers, just shut up and dribble. They don't need to be talking in politics. You got Quavo visiting the White House. I don't know what's going on. It's not letting me through this. Come on. This is why I say stop coming on at the last minute. Damn. Like he always do this. Like, you know you got an issue. You know they done cloned your phone. They cloned your phone, dude. You already have some janky Wi-Fi at your house. Just log on 10 minutes before I start the show. He never does that. And it's aggravating. He robbing people with the contracts he's giving. Yeah, that's why he don't want people to read, because he's robbing them of money. Sky, I don't even know what Skylink is, but I'm just like, this has to stop. Which is, they clones his phone like they clone Tyrell. Girl. And I'm glad I said to the guest, hey, 9:30. Guest is here waiting backstage. No, he ain't going to no RNC. Why? He didn't get invited. He don't go nowhere unless he get an invite. Yes, he needs a secure network. But because he's run around here like he know every goddamn thing, he don't know to ask someone, an expert, to hook it up for him. Because he always has an excuse. Well, that ain't it. That's not going to work. Yeah, it is. You don't know. Now you sitting here, you can't log on. Mind your business. Southern Belle could tell you, timeout taint. Give him a 5-minute timeout so he could go sit in the corner. Southern Belle or Catalia, whichever one, timeout tank, honey. This person. Time him out. Let him go sit in the corner for 5 minutes. Because I'm not doing that. I'm not starting this today. This is not happening. No, we're not doing that today. We're not. See, I can complain. I could complain about the judge. You can't. And you cannot tell me calm down or you abusing the elderly. Boy, girl, bye. They really be saying that. Did you time Tank out? Let me see. I don't see him timed out, honey. Oh yeah, you did. Okay. Dana, what about the mammy tells? Well, who would be the mammy tells? Judge you comment. Who's the mammy this week? Remy Ma? No, because that's her son. Child. Yes, Tank be out for yes, time him out for 5 minutes. Cause I don't got time for that today. I'm first of all, I'm not mean to the judge. The judge is mean to me. Second of all, that man is not elderly. So that is like so disrespectful to say that. That is not an elderly man. I spoke to him earlier today. He was on his way to the doctor's office, right? He couldn't find parking in the parking lot. I said, why you don't have a handicap sticker? Oh, I don't need one. I said, honey, you are 76. It's time. I want a handicap sticker. I begged my own father to get one so I could use it. He refuses to get it. Give me the handicap sticker. I don't know what it is about men. It's not wrong. Listen, you get first dibs, like prime parking. But you on the phone with me talking about something you can't, it's hard for you to find parking. Well, you had handicap, you would have parked 10 minutes ago. He did not. I want to hear, and I'm like, I used to think of, okay, how can I get a handicap? Because nothing is physically wrong. And I'm not going to sit up here and say something is mentally wrong, honey, because that's on your record. Oh, no, because ain't nothing mentally wrong with me. But sometimes I do have anxiety, but I don't take a pill. Handicap is usually taken. Yeah, the handicaps are getting full. But you still, and I think that's because everybody running to get the damn handicap. Where's the judge? Here come the judge. The judge is on this janky ass Wi-Fi every week. Every week. Every week. Every week. Honey, I would end this show. Yes, I would. I would end this goddamn show because what I'm not going to do is keep going through this with him or anybody else. We may got to reschedule. He ain't picking up. I guess he's trying to come on. So let me put it like this. If he is not here in the next 15 minutes, I'm just going to reschedule the show for tomorrow afternoon. But this really has to stop. He really needs to log on 10 minutes before I start. I have I have wire in the house for internet. What's wire in the house? What is wire in the house? Willie, can you elaborate? That's what I have. Nothing's wrong with it. Okay, he just texted me. That's what I have. Nothing. I told you he going to be in denial. He's in denial. He swear he know every goddamn thing. He just texted me. That's what I have. Nothing. So that means you can hear me. You listening to me in the show. Maybe that's why you can't log on, because you got the show running when you need to be focused on pressing the StreamYard link. So he texts, that's what I have. Nothing's wrong with it. I have no signal. Honey, if you have no signal, something is wrong with your Wi-Fi. What do you think no signal means? What do you think no signal means? He don't have no ether cord. He refuses to get an ether cord. He don't know where to put the ether cord. Where you gonna put the ether cord at? In your Wi-Fi box connection? And I have the what do you call those things that block out the dead spots in your house? I have that on every floor of my house. He refused to get that. I was going to buy him that. He didn't want me to. No signal means you have janky Wi-Fi. And I'm like, I'm tired of having this conversation. 30 minutes into the show already. Take away 5 minutes from the, the counter. 25 minutes. And you're not up here. How are you texting me and you can't log on? It ain't no weather. It's not. It's not. No. Who has a landline? No. He doesn't have a landline. He is not going to get anything. And this is what I mean. Like, it gets to a point sometimes it could be very unprofessional. No, he's not trying, Dominique. No, he's not. No, if he was trying, then he would sit up here and he would get the Wi-Fi booster. He would get better Wi-Fi. He would get it. He would get something to knock out the dead signals in his house. Something. It's very unprofessional. It is. I don't care. Like, me and him, we're friends or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, this is still a show. We have guests. We have guests with real life situation. And I'm like, if you can hear me talking, that means you're listening somehow, whether it's on your iPad or your phone. And why are you doing that when you need to be focusing on logging on? No, I'm not. No. Stop thinking because he's old. That man only 76 and he has all his scruples better than anybody else. Stop. He is not an elderly. No. I'm not giving him a break. You know how high his damn IQ is? He's walking on the genius line and he knows it. But you walking around here with janky Wi-Fi and he texting me right now because you can see the dots rolling. Being that he can hear me for some reason, I'm letting you know now, you got 10 to 15 minutes. You got to 9:50. And we are going to do the show early tomorrow afternoon. He got scruples. I can't do that, but I can't get a strong enough signal to handle the video component. What? How are you hearing me? Why do you my thing is, all right, if you can hear me because you're watching the show, how about you get off of their internet, right? Being that your signal in your house is weak. So stop using social media on your phone. Hello.
Hi. Jeez.
I'm sorry. Listen, from this moment on, 10 minutes at 8:50, which is 7:50 your time, you are going to start logging into the show.
It doesn't make any difference.
It does.
not what's going on.
I don't care. I don't care. You know why it makes a difference? Because
Why?
it took you 20 minutes. So if you would have logged on 10 minutes before, right? You would have already been up here 15 minutes ago. And we could have went and
Well, you know, if you get through most of the time, if you don't wait till LeBron.
how can you hear me talking?
What?
You was texting like you was answering my questions.
I did sent you an explanation. What's going on is that it takes more signal in order to encompass the video rather than just sending what you do with a message. That's the easiest one to get through. That'll usually get through when you can't get voice or anything. I don't know. It's just ridiculous. But anyhow, I'm here. Been trying for the last 30 minutes.
Right. And it would have been 20 minutes if you would have tried to log in.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made any difference. What happens is,
guess what? Guess what's going to happen?
I can see up here at the top when I have no signal. I don't have any, didn't have any bars. So in other words, it's just like nothing up there.
But guess what's going to happen now?
What's that?
You're going to start logging in 10 minutes before. Why? Because we have a guest waiting.
Okay, well, we have a guest, but the bottom line is the technology wasn't willing. I wasn't getting the signal. I'm in a miserable damn area. But apparently it doesn't make any difference where the hell I am. Anyhow, I'd apologize, but I haven't done any damn thing except sit here with no signal. So what went on is I've just been trying every few. Okay, let me send it. Let me send it. Let me send it. And then when I get through, I have to type the name in. And that makes it drop sometimes. So what the hell? I'm sitting here frustrated. And by the way, I did go to the Apple store trying to clear this up, and they told me that there was nothing they could do in the Apple store. They sent me the Apple Care. So Apple Care called up. We were on the phone for about 45 minutes, and none of what they tried to do was working. So they're going to try to come up with a fix to knock the bastard off, which they did verify that somebody is using my system. So I don't know what the hell.
All right. Well, I want to we got to go straight to the guests, and I want to apologize to Miss Linda and Mr. Peter for the wait. Well, I told them 9:30, so it's only 8 minutes. So, which I'm glad I did tell them 9:30 and not 9.
But I just don't know. I'm trying to do all I can. Apple couldn't do a damn thing in the store. They got me on Apple Care. And by the way,
I'm sorry. Did you just hear what I said? I'm about to bring up the guests.
I know. Let's get the guest. But what's getting me is to show you how foul this shit is. What I had to do through Apple Pay was exactly what they did to hack into me in the first goddamn place. Same thing. They used the same fucking protocols about let us look over your screen so you can do the same thing. The only difference is I was expecting them this time. So
can we get on with the show?
Let's get on with the show.
Thank you. So before I bring up the guests, I want to play this video just to give people a quick background on the story and the guest that's coming on.
A man convicted of murder in Atlanta is getting a second chance to plead his case. Travion Reed's family says he's going before the state clemency board to try and prove he didn't pull the trigger that led to a man's death. But Caitlin Ross reports that's not his only chance at freedom because of the Fulton County Conviction Integrity Unit.
They're called to protect the law, not to control it.
Linda Lindo says there are enough questions about her son's case that law enforcement should want to reinvestigate. That's because the GBI firearms instructor who testified in the trial admitted to not fully testing weapons in 2009. His co-defendant also confessed to pulling the trigger in 2010. Private investigator Peter Shaw says all of that should be taken into account.
That's a good step. The fact that they're actually acknowledging that there possibly could have been mistakes on like the state's side, and they're looking at that. So I think that's a big step.
11 Alive took a deep look at the Conviction Integrity Unit established in 2019. While the unit looks at hundreds of cases, so far only 3 men have been exonerated by their work. Lindo says she's hopeful for her sons.
When your child is locked up, you are locked up. So until he gets set free, I continue to be in prison.
Our investigators have been looking into the Conviction Integrity Unit since last year. You can watch our previous reports at 11alive.com.
Okay, so let's bring up the guests. Hi, Miss Linda.
Hello, how are you?
Good. And we have Mr. Peter Shaw and Miss Linda Lindo. Miss Linda, can you please quickly introduce yourself? And then I'm going to go to you, Peter, so you can introduce yourself as well.
Linda Lindo. My son is Travion Reed.
Oh, okay.
I'm the mother of the Travion Reed.
And Mr. Peter Shaw, you are investigator in this case, correct?
Yes, I am. I was hired by Linda's family to investigate this.
So, and of course, this is definitely tied to Fani Willis and Fulton County DA office. So, Mr. Shaw, can you give us a background of Trayvon Reed's situation?
Yeah, sure. So he was convicted of murder back in 2004. The prosecutor at the time was Fani Willis, as you said. And I was hired back in 2022 to look into the case for him as a post-conviction matter. And when I was talking to Mr. Reed, he mentioned that the firearms examiner, Bernadette Davy, who was the examiner on his case, who was said to have examined the bullet fragments that were used, he mentioned that she had been fired or resigned as from her position from the GBI, that she was working since 1991. And so I went ahead and went and looked into that. I requested the chain of evidence document from the GBI. I got that, and then after talking to him about it, he mentioned that Fani Willis had her as the expert witness, and she testified that she examined the bullet fragments. However, when I examined the actual chain of custody document, Miss Davy, her name wasn't anywhere on there under any item of evidence. So in fact, that she lied when she said under oath that she examined those bullet fragments that came from the gun which they didn't have, by the way, because the gun was actually in the possession of the co-defendant, which was recovered later on after he was released and then again arrested for like a federal firearms matter. And he actually threatened he threatened someone else, which led to his arrest. And in that threat, he actually mentioned that he admitted to doing this killing, the one in 2004 that Mr. Reed has been convicted of.
Mm-hmm. All right. So can you just so the people won't be lost, like what is he convicted of exactly? What is that case about? What is
convicted of murder? He's convicted of murder of a young woman
back in 2004. 2004.
That's when the conviction was. Yes.
And at that time, Fani Willis was assistant DA on that case.
Yes.
Yes. And he was found guilty, and he was sentenced to life +7 or plus five. Okay. And so and basically you're saying that he's innocent because of evidence that was most likely suppressed with the time of the trial when it took place?
Yes, yes, he is innocent. He was never picked out. The lineup they have, 2 people picked the guy that Fani Willis gave the deal, which is Keith Wade, gave him a deal, let him out, and that was the one that got out, and he had a picture floating around with the gun propped up like this saying, "Hey, I beat a murder trial, a case, and I beat another one." And that's when he was threatening another lady. And somebody called his probation officer and that's how he got locked. He's currently in the feds now. There was a lot of stuff went on in that case in the courtroom. We got put out of the courtroom. All the family had to leave, and they kind of had like a little private court without anybody in there. So yes, he's definitely innocent. And
how did they put him in this case?
The guy was his friend. Keith Wade was his friend, and so somebody said that they saw him there, and one of the girls that said he saw him there, she said she was very afraid, and Fani put us out of the courtroom for the wrong person. It was a case where the man that got killed, it was a man, he was a pimp, and this case was known as the case of the pimps and the whores, which this young man was going on the internet or whatever and pulling off young girls and turning them out to prostitutes. So, yeah, that's
doing guerrilla pimping.
Yes, and
okay.
Fani,
Well, still, that's the question I'm asking again. Is you're saying that a would-be co-defendant is the person that implicated your son, right?
yeah, he was the co-defendant.
Okay, now how do we get to this particular firearms evidence that now turns out to be
Because
questionable?
she gave him a deal, and I don't know how long he stayed, but it wasn't very long. Shortly got out, and then when he got out, that's when the gun he had.
See, here's where I'm listening. Where I'm going with this. Under American law, even in Georgia, you're not supposed to be able to convict someone on the uncorroborated evidence of an accomplice or somebody who might be construed as accomplice. So what was the independent evidence outside of this accomplice that put your son in this mess?
Somebody said that he was there. Somebody saw him there.
Did this person testify at trial?
Yeah, they testified there. Yes.
So there was some witness that testified and implicated your son, right?
It was a guy that she gave another deal to Silk. And Silk
so in other words, somebody she let off the hook testified against your son and implicated him.
Yeah.
Was that case independent of this one that we're talking about here?
Yes. He had cases in the Fed. So he had a federal case.
Okay, but Fani has no connection to the feds at that point in time. So
when it showed that she went down, we had a paperwork where it showed that she went down there and asked for a deal for this particular person, this guy, and he's a snitch. He's been snitching all his life, and he said that on stand on the witness.
So in other words, she knowingly took a snitch.
Yeah, she said,
and she intervened and she approached the feds on behalf of this snitch.
Yes.
To give this snitch a break so she could get this case. All right. Other than that, was there any physical? I'm a little confused right here. What is the significance of the firearms related evidence? I hear some ballistics expert for the state falsified his assertion that he actually tested the material. So you're saying he did not?
She did not. No.
So it's a she.
Yes, a she.
Yes.
Bernadette Davy.
Explain, sir. I think you were getting ready to say something.
So the actual firearm used wasn't actually provided in like the court of the trial. It wasn't there at the time. So they were only examining the bullet fragments. That's what
so
the
how
firearm.
did they hook? So somebody testified, we got a sample projectile from this particular weapon, and based on that sample, it closely identifies itself with the fragments that we do have in evidence. Is that what you're saying happened here?
And basically they're asserting that it probably came from the firearm, probably came from like a
Probably.
firearm. Yeah, because they didn't
That's
have
what the
actual
transcript shows. So
Yes.
in other words, what you're talking about is this is from a similar weapon.
Essentially, because they
That's
didn't
what
have
the
the actual
testimony, and
Yes.
that's all they have is this come. All right. I don't know what approach you're using, but typically what happens is that prosecutors have a foul habit. They don't want a complete ballistic analysis. What they want is something that says this is similar to the weapon that we have some lead on. In other words, it's a J-frame Smith & Wesson 38 special, and we don't want the detailed analysis to say whether it was this particular weapon. All we want is to say it's consistent with the type. Is that what they did?
Actually, yes.
Yes, that's what they did.
Okay, well, a clue for you. That's when you have unscrupulous prosecutors who do that because they want to win the case, and they say by force of personality or circumstance, they can overcome the fact that if you got a complete report, it would exclude the individual weapon in question. I ran into that a lot, and I bet you, based on what we've seen of Miss Fani Willis, that's what you had here. She did not want a thorough and accurate assessment and evaluation of this weapon. All she wanted was a consistency with the type. 6,800 weapons of this type might be known to the police, so rather than getting an identity, the prosecutor asked that the firearms experts simply give them evidence that it is similar or of the same nature. In other words, a generic brand or a generic type without detailing the identity. Now, you're saying they didn't even have this weapon.
No, they did not.
No.
So there was nothing to hook up in court this identification with a weapon that your son had because they didn't have it.
They didn't have it. No. No.
Has this weapon ever been tested?
No.
Not for this
All
case,
right.
as far as we know, because it was in the possession of the federal government, I believe, for his firearms case. The co-defendant was arrested for later on after he was
Okay,
released.
so the feds have this weapon. Has there been any demand on the feds to produce the weapon so that it can be tested in this other matter?
Not to my awareness.
There is an attorney working on this post-conviction relief matter, I take it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's in the CIU
The convictions
interrogation.
integrity unit.
Yeah.
So
They're not, go ahead.
after I was able to basically disclose this, that the firearms examiner lied under oath when Fani Willis cross-examined her and saying that she examined the evidence. I made my report. I showed them the proof, and I sent that to the head of the Convictions Integrity Unit for Fulton County. I also sent it to Fani Willis, the head of the Convictions Integrity Unit. They actually responded back to me, and that's essentially what got the case under their review now. Fani
Well,
Willis didn't respond.
on this post-conviction relief situation, it seems that you are in a position where you have become very highly dependent upon the honesty and integrity of the prosecutor's office rather than a pursuit just through court to show this. What you're talking about is not dissimilar to what I discovered with the James Earl Ray Martin Luther King thing. And in that case, for years and years and years, the prosecutor's office in Memphis and Shelby County, Tennessee, still has a great reluctance to try and develop evidence to show what's actually happened. So when I, as a judge, refused to go along with it, and I ordered the rifle in question to be retested, it wound up getting excluded as being the weapon that fired the fatal bullet that killed Dr. King. So that was just because the court, meaning myself at that time, insisted upon it. As a matter of fact, it went up and down several times on the appellate ladder. I got removed and put back on, removed, put back on the case. But ultimately, what they have in evidence is not the murder weapon. So problematically, you likely have a similar situation here. It's not uncommon because somebody with a narcissistic drive, which is typical of some of the people that get in there, and Fani matches the profile of the typical type, their narcissistic craving to win at all cost allows them to remove considerations of good conscience. I don't think you're going to get much luck through the apparatus of the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. I have a sneaking suspicion that your relief will come if somebody adroitly persist here. Now, something needs to be done where this weapon, since it is pertinent to this case, gets returned, and somebody's defense counsel perhaps needs to raise the issue that the case needs to be tossed if they cannot, in fact, produce the evidence in question, which it seems from what you're telling me has never been produced into evidence. So what happens is in order to get an independent corroboration of witnesses and whatever, you have to have this, which is exactly what happened with James Earl Ray. The only thing the state had to tie Ray to this case was purportedly his rifle, and it turns out the rifle was excluded once it actually got tested. So that might be your key here. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just analyzing this as, say, somebody that's done it a lot. And it looks like if this is something that you hang your hat on, in other words, where is the corroborating evidence? Well, the corroborating evidence was the testimony by the particular firearms expert, which turns out to be unreliable and not founded on evidence for which there was a chain of custody or even custody. So one of the things that's screwed up here is in looking at what Fulton County has done, Dana and I have been looking into it, they cut a lot of corners. And this evidence should have resulted in the case staying itself until such evidence was acquired. And at some point, there is an ethical obligation on everybody involved to return this weapon to make a determination as to whether or not you have sufficient proof to sustain a case beyond a reasonable doubt. And I represented a whole lot of pimps, whores, and such like dancers 40, 45 years ago. And as a group, it's unreliable. And I'm famous around the courthouse in Memphis, or at least I was, for one trial I had as a defense counsel, and it boiled down to a prostitute versus somebody who had no criminal record, and there were 5 co-defendants, 4 of them on death row. My client, I managed to get severed and tried in front of another judge besides an idiot who tried the other 4. And he walked, and my famous line was, since his daddy was a preacher, known, I said, who you gonna believe, a hoe or the son of a preacher man? And the jury stayed out 35 minutes and acquitted him.
Well,
But
so in this situation, when you have a corrupt prosecutor office going back since 2004, you know, why do you think, because we did speak earlier, Miss Linda, and I did not know Fani Willis was part of the DA office for
Yeah.
20 years.
Mhm.
And you know, she learned how to be corrupt and cut corners. And a lot of these cases, whether it's YSL or the big case with the teachers out of Atlanta
Yeah.
that she put up
Yeah.
on Rico, she's trying to, and so before she became DA, you know, you try cases and you want to
Right.
win cases because that helps to elevate your reputation and your resume by any means necessary. So
Yes, that's it.
so that's the problem, to where she's willing to get wins under her belt on her resume by any means necessary, even if it means lying and going against the justice system.
Yes,
it's a lack
because
of ethics.
Bernadette Davy was she was fired April 2009. Most of all the judges know that when you call her name down Fulton County, she wasn't indicted, but she admitted that she had falsified uh, cases. She admitted that. So Fani Willis knew that. So she brought her on just to lie for that particular reason. And the case itself was a joke. Like I said, my son was never picked out. The guy that she gave the deal, a couple of guys she brought in there, she was trying to give deals and make them talk and say things. And one of them walked out and said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to lie. You just do what you got to do. And she asked him, was he playing or dumb or just plain dumb or just plain stupid? Judge Glanville never do anything but sit there and stare, and a whole lot of stuff like it's going on in this case down there now. And I can believe that because it's a repeat to me. Brian Steele was my son appellate attorney at the time. And Fani Willis called the Fulton County and told him that my son had Glanville house broke in, and he let her say things like that in front of the jurors. So it was just really out of order. And what we see of her now, it's not new. She's been acting like that. She's been giving people, paying people deals and stuff to get to put the wrong people behind bars. If she just have personal issues.
She doesn't care whether it's the wrong person. She
She
just
said she
wants
told
to
me that,
win.
Judge. She
I'm
told
just
me.
saying, she doesn't care whether it's the wrong person. She wants to win.
She told me
Her
that.
ego, yeah, but listen to me. It's her ego. This type is peculiar. I'd whip them every damn time I was on the opposite side because they are so caught up in trying to win that they forget their case and they start trying to beat opposition counsel. So while they're trying to beat opposition counsel is keeping them from winning the case. There's another one I tried back, it was a mistrial, 1979, and again, and 1980, and it was a young defendant who was 16 years old at the time the crime was committed. Same thing happened. It was somebody who was a drug addict who had been trying to make deal after deal. The thing got put in place when there was a change of shift and some new detectives who did not realize that this person had made 20, 24, 25 contacts with false information before came in. They went after this kid. I wound up getting an acquittal for him. And the interesting thing is not 6 months later, somebody found Jesus literally and confessed to the homicide. So it's
Well,
not unusual for these things to happen when this type of ego gets in. And I have a lifelong commitment to this principle. Some of the most corrupt, vile individuals you will ever find in your entire life, the worst human beings with no scruples, are career prosecutors. And some who have done things outside of the prosecutor's office or leave it, they're okay. But the kind that stay in there for the entire legal career, a lot of them are suspect in just over a 50-some year career. I'd have to say, even if you included the criminals in the mix, when you get to those people involved in the criminal justice system, lifetime career prosecutors tend to be the most corrupt, dishonest, and unscrupulous humans you will ever find. They are deficient.
I wanna ask you. So he was convicted in 2006,
Yes, 2006.
and he got life plus 5. And when we spoke earlier, you said life plus life in Georgia is 14 years at that time,
At that time, yes.
plus the 5, but that was supposed to run
Right,
concurrent.
concurrent, right.
So he should have already been released or up for parole.
Except Fanny's got her ass in the mix again, and there have
That's
been
what I'm
notes
telling
sent to the
Yes.
parole board about
Yes.
give this guy no slack, no consideration.
Yes.
Have you considered this?
Yes.
Conducting a concerted campaign with what you know and approaching the governor for a pardon or commutation of sentence. And I think the governor might be receptive to that because it's one more nail in the coffin that has been crafted and put together by Miss Fani herself.
I haven't tried that, but we did send him the paper that Peter Shaw, when we found out about Bernard David, we sent him everything that we had, and his office responded by saying that they would get back with us. And
let me ask you one question. I don't mean to interrupt. Was there an Officer Davis that had anything to do with this at the time it occurred in Atlanta? That's our current chief of police. She got fired from Atlanta, demoted and fired, but had to be rehired under civil service. She's our chief of police now. She resigned ultimately from 2016 in Atlanta, went to Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, got in the same mix, and what she was doing was corrupt, and it involved assisting allegedly a child pornography ring, most of which is now doing federal time, with her being an exception. But she's now chief of police here, doing a totally ineffective job, just rank incompetence. And we've lost down to now where we are 800 police shy of a full load, even though the positions are paid for, but we can't get anybody to fill them.
No, but GBI did contact us when we contacted the governor's office and wanted to know where did we get all our paperwork and things from concerning Bernadette. And he said that he didn't find nothing that she done wrong.
That Fanny has done wrong.
No, that Bernadette Davis.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And well, so Bernadette seems to have admitted doing the wrong.
She got, yes, we got
that contact.
Mr. Shaw got all of those papers and everything in file, and we did send it to the governor's office, which he had somebody to call us, and then they had the GBI, and then GBI, the head person in GBI, the director, said that they didn't see nothing. If you didn't see anything wrong, why did you fire her? Why you got on there? And why did she admit that? She admitted out of her own mouth. Her own testimony was that she had falsified documents in my son's case.
Well, I'm aware of some cases that might pertain to what you're talking about. I'll give you a clue, but off the air. Okay. And
I want to go back to Mr. Peter and ask him about his.
Well, I mean, but hold on. This goes to this right here. This is what you might want to look for. It's, for some reason, what winds up happening is the people that are chosen to investigate the alleged wrongdoing within a department have a vested interest in seeing to it that the department is not proved wrong or culpable for wrongdoing. So in other words, you give the crook the opportunity to say whether or not there's been anything crooked going on.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Mr. Peter, anything you want to add on in this discussion about, this case, Mr. Reed's case? Anything else that, that the public should know and we should be aware of?
I mean, Linda pretty much covered it, but I will mention that I did get like multiple affidavits from other witnesses that corroborated that Mr. Reed was not present at the time of the incident of the murder.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that.
So, okay, so what is the current status of his parole, of his release, and of his case overall? What is the current status? Because technically he should be home already. He served his time. So why isn't he released yet?
Well,
I really think Fani Willis got something to do with it. Just like, she doesn't want to be wrong. And like when we was going to talk to Crystal Moon, they just called me 20 minutes before showing up and said, don't come. You can't come down here. We got a call from the DA's office. You not to come down here. And so Crystal Moon work at the parole office.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of the head people there that get.
So when is his parole?
2026. This would be a.
But that's when he's supposed to be.
Okay.
That's when he's done 100% of his time in 2026.
No, it's not 100%. It wouldn't be, but he's been in front of the parole board twice before, right?
He never been before the board.
He's gotten turned down by the board. They, in other words, saying, don't even bother. We're not going to consider your situation.
Yeah, that's the way they did it.
He got convicted in 2006.
No. That's not what we're talking about. You just said, look, and that's an incorrect statement of the fact. He's not subject to being released. Why hasn't he been released? He potentially could be released, but the last time he was in that position where his parole would have been considered, the word was,
that's not what I'm saying.
That's what she's saying.
No, that's what when I asked her about the parole. No,
that's what she just said, isn't it?
When I asked her about the parole, now I want to ask her something else. He was convicted in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He got life in prison plus 5. That is a total of 19 years.
That's not quite what it is. That means that you are eligible for early release if they put you on parole after 19 years. That does not mean that you are automatically released. What has happened here, and she just confirmed it, is that they did not even give him what would have been an early parole hearing.
No, they never came around.
Yeah.
Okay, so life in prison means if it's 15, 14 years or 20 years, that means at that 14 or 20 year mark, you may be considered for parole.
Yes,
that doesn't mean you're guaranteed. Okay.
Yeah, that means you're eligible.
So they can say no parole, you still got to stay in prison. It's just that okay. Now
they didn't even have a hearing.
They didn't have a hearing.
So they okay, and then so with that, usually you get a parole hearing when you do 80% of your time.
That's not 80%.
No, you can't go by it like that. Life is
okay. Maybe I'm thinking of the feds then, because I think with the feds you have to do.
Feds
80%.
Don't have parole. There's no more federal parole. Not since 1980 something.
But he's on the they had the 7-year for lifers, and then they had the 14. Now I think it's like 30 years. But he was on the he was grandfathered in on the 14 years. So he's been there like 21 years now,
And he still hasn't had any type of parole hearing, and he may get a parole hearing in 26.
No, they send a letter to the prison, I guess. But what they do, they don't come down like like we know it to be. They come and sit in front of you. Mm-hmm. They don't do that no more.
Well, what did they do in Georgia? What did they do?
They just look at your file. And I think they have to do reports from the prison. The warden and the your counselor have to send stuff in, and then they look at it, and that's how they do it.
All right, so Judge, the
The
reason why I'm asking
equivalent
these,
of dial this number, you get a recorded answer, and it says press 1 if, press 2 if, press 3 if, and you get through the whole list, and you haven't had anybody to hear what your situation is.
But
Something like that, ma'am? That's kind of what you had. Nobody has heard anything on it.
No.
But this is what I'm saying when it comes to this corruption in Fulton County, to where it sounds like they're very unorganized, but this is intentional. They are intentional portraying to be unorganized because they want to keep more bodies, whether it's in the Fulton County Jail or the prison system, particularly where your son is at. Because when I'm trying to get an understanding of parole. I'm trying to get an understanding of the parole process. And even while you explaining it to me, it just sounds like they just seem like they're just unorganized. And it seemed like it's very
unorganized. And Judge Glenville should have excused himself when Fani Willis called down there and stated that my son had his house broke into. And Brian Steele was supposed to have sent that letter out, but he was on vacation. And after so many days, he said, you can't do it. But he should have. And my son put that on the record. So, it's on the record. Why would you, say that I've done these things and your prosecutor is calling down there? She did everything she could to make sure.
You know what? You just gave some insight. You gave me some insight into what I've been looking at. I could not fathom why that judge was allowing that female prosecutor that's in there on that rap conspiracy RICO thing that they have, why he was letting her get away with what she was getting away with. That was almost inexcusable. And then he turns around and he dares to violate the confidentiality between an attorney and another third party when he demands to know who gave this defense counsel this information about this off the record ex parte hearing with one of the witnesses. Now you just gave me some explanation. I understand it better now.
Yeah.
But Judge Glenville was he was the judge on your son's case.
He was the judge on my son's case, and he let her go back and talk to the juror, because the head juror was her friend, and my son and I, we had to get rid of one of our attorneys. Can't think his I can't think of his name, but it was a conflict of interest, and family wanted to bring in another attorney. Fani said that we was trying to play with the court, trying to beat the court, deadbeat the court. So Judge Glenville did not let us bring an attorney on. He actually appointed one of her friends, a court-appointed attorney, which never, Mr. Shaw has that. She never went to see my son, and she was defending him for a murder case, and she never went to see him. The case only lasts 2 days. And this case was a young, like I said, a man that bringing young girls on and prostituting them.
So he did an ex parte in your son's case as well. Judge Glenville.
So what we are seeing is this goes on all the time. And yes. Right.
Well, contrast this. That case you've been looking at, the RICO allegation against the rap artist, how many weeks has that thing been going on?
It's been going
quite
on
a long time.
Yes.
Over 3 months.
A homicide where there is a lot of suspect evidence and other things, and it's done in 3 days from start to finish.
Yeah.
That ought to tell you something right there.
Yeah, but Judge, I fought. I've been fighting. I will continue to fight for my son's freedom. And, but even when I tried to talk and speak with Paul Howard, he made a statement to me and saying that he was told that I was crazy. And so, you know, and that kind of stuff. It's almost like you're fighting it's a circle of the bad, and you can't, you know, you go to one, it's just like you go into the other. They all is in together.
Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on. I really do. And you have my number. Please keep me updated with your son's case and, you know, his situation. And thank you, Mr. Peter Shaw, for coming on as well. And keep up the good work. And I do hope this can help. And this is the reason why we do bring people on, to have a platform to share their story, to keep these stories out there in the media, because Fulton County, I'm sorry, it is corrupt, and it starts at her office. So thank you. Thank you, Miss Linda.
You for having me. Thank you, Judge.
Good luck.
Oh, and do you have an organization?
Me?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you want to say what it is?
Well, the name of my organization is called the City of Refuge. And what I do, I just go out and speak to women that have been hurt, battered, people in general, just try to direct them in the right path. So.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, I look forward to having you back on the show. Please keep in touch with me and keep me up to date. And thank you again, Mr. Peter Shaw, for coming on as well.
All right, Judge. Is it anything that you need to tell me?
Well, in other words, as I'm listening to you, I'm beginning to develop a picture, and it's fitting in with some stuff I've seen before. So I gave you some things when I was just talking to you that were occurring to me immediately as I contemplated and reflected upon what you were saying. I get it now, and I'm looking at a trend that is not a good trend. It's cutting too many damn corners when you want to get something out of the way and not giving a damn about the consequences. And then other situations last in an indeterminate amount of time because you're fumbling and stumbling because you really don't know how to do it the right way. You're getting away with what you get away with when you choose to do so. And that's what I'm listening to right now. I don't like this kind of thing.
Well, I will definitely make sure that you have his contact.
Okay.
I'll send it to you when the show is over and everything, so you two could stay in contact as well.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Good night.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you don't mind that I said that because I didn't ask you, but I don't think you mind to give her your contact information. Hello.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. You need to be a little bit more alert. You seem you're dragging.
In other words, I'm dragging because I'm thinking. I'm not talking over the top of my head. It raises some issues, some analytical necessities, and the wheels are spinning. I'm reflecting on what I heard. This is straight up and down professional. I'm not doing ragging somebody out because it's the thing to do. It's straight up and down professional. I'm not giving legal advice because that's not my role. I'm giving a reaction to what I hear, and I'm bringing years and years worth of academic and legal and other types of perspective to this thing, and the wheels are turning. They're still going because let me just say this real quickly. My perspective on what's with this case is different now than it was earlier today after I'd read up on it. So yeah.
Which case?
The one we just talked about.
Okay. Well, sticking on Fanny, let's move to Nathan Wade. I think I brought this to your attention earlier.
You did
He went on
the
Comedy Central.
joke.
Yeah, he went on Comedy Central and he allowed, Marlon Wayans to kind of make fun of the situation with him and Fanny. Can you stop making that noise? Whatever you're touching, it's grinding in my ear. So I want to play this clip.
That's my belt rubbing up against my
Yeah,
button at the
unbuckle
top
it.
of my pants. Well, I
Unbuckle it or
can't
something.
unbuckle my belt.
Yes, you can. Nobody can't see it.
That's all right. Come
It's
on
no,
now.
it's like a grinding sound. It's
I know it's
annoying.
leather on
It's
leather.
annoying.
This thing, huh?
Yeah, take it off or something.
That's no.
Nobody can see. Nobody can't see.
Now, anyway, now.
All right, let me play this clip.
The bottom line is that it's
let me
a
play
mess.
the clip.
This is what you get.
Let me ask you: when old girl was like, "Hey, babe, you want to be in charge of this prosecution of the president of the United States who did this insurrection?" Did you think like this could get messy, or you was like, "Nah, I'll be all right"?
We did not have that type of relationship at the outset, and we were interviewing other people for the position.
What position was it?
It was the position of special prosecutor.
Did that position look like this? Or did that position look like this?
So no.
After Wade resigned as special prosecutor, Trump's law dogs still tried to use their relationship to get the case thrown out. They compelled his ass to testify and grilled this hard.
Did you go to a cabin with Miss Willis ever?
But the homie had answers.
Ever?
Ever.
No.
He's never booking a cabin.
I booked lots of cabins. My question is, when you booking all these cabins?
So
How many district attorneys you be smashing in cabins?
0.
Is it Airbnb or Verbo? Where you be getting all these cabins from? That's what my people want to know.
Where do I get them?
That was the end of that. And listen, and I'm highlighting this because now they're trying to make a parody of it to downplay, their unethical behavior. Like I said, I have people come on to bring their cases to light because her whole office is just corrupt. But
what I just saw right there is not so much what you just said. It's just rank stupidity. Because right now he is looking at as a co-defendant, as a conspirator, a number of state and federal felonies. And it is the same kind of dumb stunt we saw by Fani Willis herself when she walked in hand on hip, head going in the snake charm motions, talking about she was going to testify, which was one of the worst damn fool moves I've seen in a long time. In fact, it's the absolute worst when it comes to incriminating self in criminal activity. So without getting into even saying allegations, it's just that, for God's sake, what the devil is wrong with you? You're supposed to be the chief prosecutor for a major city, and you so aptly demonstrate why there exists a thing in American law called the Fifth Amendment. In other words, your Miranda rights. You have a right to remain silent, and ordinarily it's in your best interest to exercise those rights. So this is just another instance of stupid arrogance that I've seen so much of the more I look into what's going on down in Fulton County, Cobb County, and DeKalb County. That's Atlanta, Georgia. It's just an arrogant, narcissistic mess, which is quite embarrassing. I am impressed by Judge McAfee. He has done brilliantly. I am depressed, not impressed, but depressed by the colored judge, the brigadier general, and what he has done in terms of general ineptitude and failure to comprehend the gravity of what he did by engaging in that ex parte activity without notice to the parties, and then the compounding thereof by attempting to put a lawyer in jail for attempting to conduct a vigorous investigation to overturn any thing that may be hiding out there and bring it to light that may have an impact on securing justice for his client. Now, this is just deplorable. This is just stuck on stupid. And the humor of a worse type is, why in the devil does Mr. Wade get himself up and put himself into this mix again? Some of it was funny. Some of it was not so funny. There was a lot of it that was a slapstick circumstance, but I'm just rather aghast that somebody who has a law license would put himself in this kind of mess. And again, I fail to understand how they don't get the gravity of this contention, which is, we didn't have a relationship when this started. We developed one later, and that's in the context of Miss Willis's campaign activities, where she threw her boss under the bus and said that what she did with her boss would never happen again in the office. I am appalled at the circumstance that this is a great wrong against the status as officers of Judge McAfee's court not to divulge this information of this new relationship that develops. I'm absolutely astonished that they think this is going to get away with it, because it looks more and more like money laundering is going on. This whole thing about Miss Willis having absolutely nobody looking over her shoulder when it came to okaying Mr. Wade's expense claims, it just looked like a way to me to hustle money from the public and misappropriate funds, which so far we have discovered has resulted in a payout of $720,000 for essentially very little to no work at all in this case, which that is apparent from the circumstances at this point. So it's astonishing would it be chutzpah of somebody coming up trying to arrogantly pull this scam off? And that's alleged, but it certainly stinks like, looks like, squirms like, and it sounds like this. So I'll say allegations to deal with the liability issues, but it's really kind of horrendous.
Yeah, very. And I don't know. Listen, just got finished interviewing Miss Linda and hearing the corruption in her son's case. And then to see this with this comedy parody, like, now you're doing it intentionally because to lighten up the negative perception of her in the media. And no, this is a serious situation here, because somebody did put this in the chat. I was going to bring it up when she was up here, but so how many innocents are in prison from her? How many people that just might be innocent or just didn't have they just due in court because of her tactics? So,
well, how about this one? How about that $7.5 million of public money that's now unaccounted for, that was supposed to be used for the purpose of what? Reducing the backlog, because there are so many people who are in jail in Fulton County where their circumstances violate the state law, which says if you are in jail for a felony, you're supposed to be indicted within 45 days. So they've been in there for months, years, and that hasn't happened. What happened to the $2 million that was allocated to deal with expediting the resolution of sex crimes? What about the $500,000 that was supposed to be in there to set up a juvenile offender program, or at least provide the seed money that seems to have disappeared? So right there, you have got one big chunk of money, $10 million, that seems to have totally disappeared from the face of the earth. And the questions that are raised are very troubling. So what has happened here?
Right. All right, I want to move on to listen. We're going to end up going past 11 because you were over 30 minutes late.
Well,
but,
it wasn't me. This system just is not working.
You know why? I'm going to continue to blame you, because you will not invite an expert to come in and fix your problem. And I don't want to get into it right now.
I had a consultation with not one, not two, but not three, but four geniuses in the Apple store today, and they couldn't handle the matter.
No, I'm not talking about that.
To something else, and it's a mess.
Before your phone was cloned, you was having Wi-Fi issues. But
I know that.
And you don't want to bring an expert in to fix it.
Well, I have brought in experts over the years. I've actually brought in people who had some international acclaim for working these things out. In fact, my brother's security people that he dealt with for international purposes came in and took a look, and I've told you what they said. So
one second, Southern Belle or Catellia, please give David a 5-minute timeout, please. David, you go sit in the corner for 5 minutes. See, I'm really being nice, because I would just hide you myself. But either Southern Belle, whichever one of y'all could grab him first, give him 5-minute timeout, go sit in the corner, David.
What do?
Because Dana is so unprofessional, and I'm being nice by only giving you 5-minute timeout. I told you I'm not doing this tonight. I'm really kind of chill tonight. I really am. And sometimes I don't like to be chill. I need to be up. But you get the 5-minute timeout. Go sit in the corner, David. Go sit in the corner. Was it Dave East? No, I think you timed out the wrong person. You timed out Dave East. Southern Belle, you timed the wrong person out. It's David. Time out David. You see him on the screen, honey. Dana being Reverend. Yeah, sorry, Dave E. She timed you out by accident. Let me see if I can reverse it. Let's see. No, I can't. All right. We can't reverse it, Dave East. Can you go find David? Do I gotta do it? I must have said Dave. It's David. So, ladies, I'll put their name up on the screen, honey. Where's Dave? David. Oh, here he go. Okay. But is he on timeout? Let me see. Confirm. Okay, I put him on a 5-minute timeout. Yes. All right. Now we can get back to the show.
One of the things you're dealing with here is that until this stuff hit the fan with the Trump thing, most of the public was unaware of these kind of travesties that we've been seeing unravel, and the fabrics being stripped away and they're being exposed to the light of day. It's this treating justice as a joke when it comes to it being a sacred concept, because something else is going on besides justice and equity. And that is an expedited, in other words, this whole thing we're looking at is showing all of it.
Oh.
It's
Oh, oh,
just
oh.
the general atmosphere.
I got to get to the topics. Let's get to the
Okay,
topics.
yeah, well, that is the
So,
topic.
no, it's not the topic. I want to get
Yeah,
to the
well,
10
I mean, we
Commandments.
go whether we're talking
No, no, no.
about.
I want to get to
I
this
don't care about
specific
that.
topics.
That's part
That's
of
can
some of the
can I
rules.
please let me just
I
introduce, because this
know.
is not where I'm going with it. And I want to say something,
Go
but
ahead.
I'll say it later. So Louisiana, they passed a law to have a big poster of this size in every classroom from kindergarten to universities of the 10 Commandments. They are interlocking church and state when church and state should be separated. But they passed a law to allow this, the 10 Commandments, in every class. So I want you to give your thoughts on this and why it's not a good thing, because they are interchanging or interlocking church and state.
They've already done that, except the one that is the worst offender is the rainbow cult, not the cross cult, nor the crescent cult, nor the star cult. And it's bad because there are people who follow Islam that might be offended. There are people who follow Judaism who might be offended. There are Hindus, Buddhists, and they're atheist, agnostic, and they might be offended. And we cannot sit there and honor something over anything else. About 25 years ago, I spoke at 3 graduation exercises. Those weren't the only ones, but I was in demand then. And they broke down into near riots with adults fighting each other because somebody insisted on having a prayer that offended a lot of other adults in the audience. And these affairs were graduation ceremonies. So that's not good. When the Constitution was ratified, it had been within living memory of some families. The tail end of what was known as the 100-Year War of Religion in Europe, where Catholic versus Protestant affairs were resulting in a lot of death. So religion is something that can inflame passions, and it's not good to get those kind of passions inflamed, nor is it good for anyone to focus on a claim of exclusivity to impose a philosophy. And we've got that really in this day and time, in the 21st century. That has become probably the principal issue right now. Now, it is a good tactic, if that's what somebody was intending, to offset the use of the rainbow. But we do have rules about this, and those rules are very sound, and they have a firm basis in history, fact, and human psychology. So it is what it is.
So I have here on the screen the founding fathers: Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Thomas Paine, James Madison. And they're the ones who, interpreted the separation of state and church. Thomas Jefferson says Christianity neither is nor ever was a part of the common law. In every country and in every age, the priest has been hostile to liberty. John Adams quotes saying, the government of the United States is not in any case founded on the Christian religion. Thomas Paine, all national institutions of churches, whether Jewish, Christian, or Turkish, appear to me no other than human inventions set up to terrify and enslave mankind and monopolize power and profit. James Madison, religion and government will both exist in greater purity the less they are mixed together.
Jefferson coined that thing about separation of church and state. Some historians want to say, how did he do that? That's not in the Constitution. Problem is he had a rather large role in drafting the Constitution. Now,
Right.
it's interesting when people ignorantly get to talking about what the government of the United States is about. The very first treaty that the United States ratified was with France. The wording of the treaty says, "The great Catholic nation of France, a Christian country, allies with the United States of America, a Christian country, in the following, etc., etc., etc." Well, the Senate that had the responsibility for ratifying that or not put a caveat in it, said, "We ratify this treaty with the following exception. The United States are not a Christian country. We have a constitutional prohibition on respect of religion. There is none." So that language is interjected in the very first treaty, ratified way back 233 years ago.
Well, all right. So
I know that's going to offend people, but the problem is the opposite offends people too. So there's no need to inflame the public by favoring one religion over another.
Right. Great point. All right, I want to move on to Biden amnesty, right? And I kind of want to mix up breaking news that came out with Donald Trump today. So it says Biden's lawless mass amnesty. He introduced his latest immigration relief policy at the White House this week. I believe it was Tuesday. President Biden told the assembled crowd that the changes he was making had been considered by Congress and had passed. Then correcting himself, he conceded that this was not true. Rather, he admitted he was announcing yet another executive order. Biden chose the 12th anniversary of DACA to promulgate his
Promulgate.
No, it's promulgate.
Promulgate. Yeah, promulgate. That's how, yeah, you solved yeah, you can say that, but promulgate.
I think I had it right the first time.
Go ahead.
To promulgate.
Okay.
Promulgate. Promulgate.
Promulgate. The way it's often said. But anyway.
Promulgate. His alterations is fitting. Indeed, all that was missing was a commemorative sign that read 12 years of ignoring the Constitution, the creation of
Well, here's the thing. He actually can do that, but he has to do it the right way. You know what that is?
What?
He has to pardon everybody who indicted, unindicted, arrested, charged, known or unknown, who has broken federal law by crashing the border, being here illegally. He has to pardon them. Now, there's nothing that could be done to stop him from doing that, but he has to put it in form of a pardon. And by the way, even though the president cannot be held in check and has an absolute authority to do that, you don't have to vote for the person the next time around if they abuse that authority.
Right. Well, now here's the thing, because now this amnesty executive order, he's going to allow people who are undocumented illegals, if they are married to a citizen, to just speed up their amnesty reports, their amnesty process, right? So this came out. It says a new multi-million-dollar initiative aims to help more than 300,000 Houston area immigrants gain citizenship. The price of a citizenship application, once $40, is now skyrocketed to $725, right? So of course, you have a border crisis and millions of people crash the border, and a lot of them are in the state of Texas. And it's no surprise that now Texas have over 42,000 people diagnosed with the STD in Houston alone. So you have an increase of illegals and you're going to have an increase of STDs. Like the
And
correlation
you
is
also
there.
have meningitis and a number of other things, measles. You have HIV, you've got all kinds of things going wrong, and that's because nobody has been checked, nobody's been vetted. And the other thing is, he would have to make it an executive pardon, which he can do, but he's talking about an executive order. That won't work. He has to issue a pardon.
Right.
Now, that gets into another problem, which is what about those people who have been waiting in line and going through the process of taking the courses in American history, American government, American law, so that they can become lawful, naturalized citizens of the United States? So, what about the slap in the face to all of those people? Say, well, screw you, Johnny come lately, crashed the border, broke the law, you followed it. So you get to the back of the line and we're going to expedite them, give them government money, government housing, government transportation, ensure they get jobs. You suckers, you did it the right way, so you're left on your own.
Well, today, so that was this week with Biden with the amnesty, but today Trump, it was like some roundtable or something he had, and he came out and he said that he promised to staple a green card to anyone who graduates from any college, even a 2-year college, right? So I think it sounds like he's contradicting himself a little bit. I want to play this clip because back in 2016, he was quoted saying, I will end forever the use of H-1B as cheap labor program and institute an absolute requirement to hire American workers first. But now you want to give green cards to anyone who graduates from a college in 2-year or 2-year community college. So I want to play this clip.
15 minutes. The more important point, I think, Mr. President, is we need high-skilled workers in this country.
Yes.
We need to recruit the best and brightest from the world. Every time we get somebody super intelligent from India or Europe, any country, that's
3 of us are
one less,
immigrants, sir.
Yeah, and 3 of the 4 here are immigrants, the ones without the ties. And we can get these great people into our country, and that's a loss for our adversaries and our competitors, and it's a gain for us. But I've never heard you talk about this. Can you please promise us you will give us more ability to import the best and brightest around the world to America?
I do promise, but I happen to agree. That's why I promise. Otherwise, I wouldn't promise. Let me just tell you that it's so sad when we lose people from Harvard, MIT, from the greatest schools and lesser schools that are phenomenal schools also. And what I wanted to do, and I would have done this, but then we had to solve the COVID problem because that came in and, sort of dominated for a little while, as you perhaps know. But what I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. And that includes junior colleges too. Anybody graduates from a college, you go in there for 2 years or 4 years. If you graduate or you get a doctorate degree from a college, you should be able to stay in this country. And you know more stories than I do, but I know of stories where people graduated from a top college or from a college and they desperately wanted to stay here. They had a plan for a company, a concept, and they can't. They go back to India, they go back to China, they do the same basic company in those places, and they become multi-billionaires employing thousands and thousands of people, and it could have been done here. And a bigger example is you need a pool of people to work for your companies. You have great companies, and they have to be smart people. Not everybody can be less than smart. You need brilliant people. And we force the brilliant people, the people that graduate from college, the people that are number one in their class from the best colleges, you have to be able to recruit these people and keep the people. It was such a big deal. Somebody graduates at the top of the class. They can't even make a deal with the company because they don't think they're going to be able to stay in the country. That is going to end on day one.
So
I don't have any problem with that.
Why?
Because it's been the public policy of the United States for a long, long time. Let me point this out. Right
That's
now,
essentially DACA.
no, it's not DACA. It's something else. It's like, okay, Albert Einstein, theory of relativity. Everything that you see right now that you can look at, he offered an explanation for. I mean, everything, stuff you can't see in the quantum world, that's something else, and they're trying to reconcile that. We wouldn't have gotten Einstein if he hadn't been invited in or welcomed in. No strings attached because of who he was. We got a lot of scientists that wound up making the atomic bomb for the United States of America with the Manhattan Project in World War II. That put us ahead of everybody. We got the space race under control, and that included intercontinental ballistic missiles, nuclear ballistic missile submarines, nuclear attack subs, nuclear aircraft carriers, because we did just that. So it does not make any sense in this very competitive world to turn people away who might contribute to our ability to remain at the pinnacle of power in the world, nor to turn away people who, as were talked about here, managed to set up mega corporations employing a lot of people. And we certainly need job positions for the multitudes and the masses. So it makes no sense to turn those people away. And our immigration policy, flawed as it may have been, always recognized that there was a part to be played by those who had the intellectual capacity to advance humankind. Even the Chinese do that. They had a sanction, an absolute sanction, one child per family, to cut back their huge population from 1.6 going on 1.7 billion people. Now it's dropped down below 1.3 billion because of their efforts. So they've relaxed it so you could have 2 children now instead of just 1. But amongst their intellectual elite who were studying abroad, they might have had 1 or 2 children, and that sanction was not enforced against these brilliant scholars who had nominally more brilliant children who might have helped out the Chinese STEM situation, science, technology, engineering, and math. So
Well,
it is a reality.
but
You
this is the
want to
thing, though.
improve the best and brightest.
No.
in your group.
I get what you're saying, but if we already have millions of illegals here, right, and then they're in these sanctuary states, sanctuary cities, they're going to be enrolling in college. So if Trump decides to give green cards, they're going to be the ones getting green cards.
That's not necessarily the case, because in order to get that degree, you have to have facility with the English language. You have to have facility with the foundational courses and such like that are prerequisites to advance. So in other words, you just don't get to the point where you get the college degree without taking or being proficient in stuffs like algebra, geometry.
No, but and they
see.
are. They study hard. They have resources with tutors, with extra help. Yes, they are succeeding. So again, if you have these young people coming here, so they're going to be, if he wants to give green cards, if you complete a community that's only 2 years and a 4-year, then those people who he's going to give a green card to are going to be the ones who recently came over here and jumped the fence, or
well, if they're the smart ones, okay.
No.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
no.
you can.
And the reason why this situation now is so unique that he shouldn't even have said that during this next term of his is because it was a massive border crisis where you had millions that came across the border illegally alone. So honestly, all those people need to be deported. And then once you clear all that up, if you want to have, okay, people who've been here at least 10 years or something like that, and you already put your paperwork in, you get a green card if you have a college degree. But right about now, it's you have to clean house.
Well, you clean house, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You want smart, enterprising people because that
But you
boosts
got to
the
get rid of
economy.
the dirty water.
Yeah, well, you get rid of the dirty water.
So get
but
rid of the dirty water
no,
first.
what you do is you filter out the prime fish that are in the dirty water, and if they are of use, fine. I've always
It's
had
easier
this.
to get rid of the water.
No, I know, but you can't do that. That's like, for example, a quick pathway to American citizenship has always been volunteering for duty in the United States Armed Services.
We're not talking
And
about student visa people.
I'm not talking about student visa people. I'm talking about anybody.
No, there was a comment. It was a comment.
I saw the comment.
I would
but
never ever again press the button to allow commercials to run during this program because it messes up the views. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, what I'm saying is this. We've always had a pathway anciently in this country for just that, where you might have questionable immigration status, but if you volunteered for the armed services of the United States and you were willing to fight for the country, put your life on the line, then you got fast tracked, no questions asked. This also got supplemented by programs which still exist in places like California, Oregon, Nevada, New Mexico, etc. And what happens is you have people who are essentially not really supposed to be north of the border who are in law enforcement. I know there was a big brouhaha over this, but that's been going on for the last 75, 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nothing new. In other words, you do the service, and what is it? We say, thank you for your service. Well, we sort of say, thank you for your service. Here's your green card.
All right. I want to move on to something else. Well, it's still Trump, but I want to go to the Trump immunity case. Oh my God, these people are having a fit. They're like, let's go with this. When they going to rule on Trump immunity? They think it's going to come out tomorrow.
No, it won't come out tomorrow.
No. They could, because I think the end of this month they're going to recess until September or something.
Let me put a question to everybody out there. How many of you enjoyed writing term papers in college?
Not really. Nobody really does.
Well, that's what appellate judges do for their living. Is they do the equivalent of writing nothing but term papers.
Term papers, what, 20 pages minimum?
Yeah, these Supreme Court decisions, they have to be carefully analyzed because the job of the United States Supreme Court is not just to deal with resolution of disputes, and that only occurs when it involves such primary parties as state going after another state. They set the law. They clarify what is appropriate law in the United States. They propound statements of rights like the Fifth Amendment that we know as the Miranda rights. They do stuff like Brown v. Board of Education that says segregation is inherently unequal. They also did stuff to their discredit, like Plessy versus Ferguson, that said separate but equal is okay. See, these folk make these determinations that impact the entirety of the United States of America, where your day-to-day existence has a lot to do with what they say. So they have their law staffs, their law clerks, they do research themselves. They have to have conferences, hash this stuff out. They have drafts, and the drafts are rehashed out in committee and people look at them. They're refined, and when it comes out, you have a clear, concise, hopefully, and crisp statement of what American law ought to be.
So All right.
You need these things. It takes time. In
But
other words,
why are they trying to rush? They want. I
well, that's
think.
America's impatience.
Okay. Well, let me go to this.
Inquiring minds must know.
So Eric Holder, former Attorney General under Obama, is worried the Supreme Court will come to a dangerous conclusion on Trump immunity. So I want to play this clip real quick.
Damn him. He wasn't our best Attorney General any damn way, and he's too partisan.
Let me play it.
I want to ask you about the Supreme Court, and I want to ask you how you're thinking about this period where we are waiting for the extraordinary, for something that people told us we wouldn't have to worry about. We're waiting for the Supreme Court's opinion on immunity. And Trump has actually argued before the Supreme Court, and based on the questioning, has some receptive audience members to the idea that a president should be immune from prosecution. How are you thinking about this period, and do you have any predictions?
Well, I got to tell you this. I mean, anything less than a decision by the Supreme Court that says a president should be held to the laws just like any other American citizen should be. Anything other than that is absurd. The notion, for instance, that apparently some justices are fooling around with it. Well, if the president violated the criminal law but was doing so in his official capacity, there may be some basis to say that that's okay. We need to step back and think about that. Wait a minute. A president can violate the American criminal law if he or she is doing something in their official capacity. That is an absurd and dangerous conclusion. And I'm worried, given the length of time that it has taken for the Supreme Court to decide this case, that something along those lines might come out of the Supreme Court.
I want
to. May I stop this for this second?
That was it. That was it.
That's rank hypocrisy. This person was Attorney General of the United States of America, and he failed to prosecute his boss, Barack Obama, or insist on appointment of special counsel when Barack Obama's administration, on Obama's order, violated a specific injunction against him by a federal district court to keep him from assassinating an American citizen born in the United States of America citizen, also the 16-year-old son of that American citizen born in the United States. As a matter of fact, both of them born in Detroit. They had, by statements of admission from the United States government, committed no acts that would constitute a crime under the laws of the United States or any particular state, yet Obama ordered them executed because they were saying stuff that was protected by the First Amendment, freedom of speech clause. And the president, in his own sole discretion, without due process of law, determined that they should be deprived of their lives because they were saying things inconvenient and uncomfortable for the United States. So after he was enjoined from doing that, he on his own chose to continue to order and have carried out their assassination. The American citizen who was the father was killed, and 4.5 hours later, his 16-year-old son was executed. No due process of law, no crime committed, just the exercise of free speech in a fashion that was uncomfortable for the president of the United States. So, Mr. Holder, why the hell didn't you go prosecute your boss? Next thing is that also suggests that another characteristic comes into play. The United States has laws that prohibit assassinations as diplomatic tools. Most of what the CIA does when it comes to killing somebody off, the James Bond stuff we find so fascinating in our spy movies and novels, the stuff that the SEAL teams do, the stuff that SOCOM, Special Operations Command, does routinely about going out and taking out the bad guys without due process of law. Technically, that's illegal under U.S. law, but the presidents order it in terms of national security. So there is a very good basis for that. The other thing is technically what we're talking about here was not necessarily an illegal act, but perhaps a judgment call that some might want to characterize through hyperbole as illegal, even though it is not. Because what they have on the table, simply from another perspective, is to demand respect for and following the law. For example, and this is a very important example, it's being thrown about by the far left, the blue crowd, that Trump violated the law by suggesting to Vice President Pence that he not approve the so-called electoral college vote. As a matter of fact, the next thing on the agenda for Congress was just that. It was not heard because of the January 6th fracas, and Nancy Pelosi tabled the matter, but there is a thing called the Confidence in Elections Act of 1877 that says when it becomes apparent that there is a lack of public confidence in the electoral proceedings, the Vice President of the United States shall not certify the proffered electoral college vote, but shall instead call for the appointment of a 15-man committee, which shall consist of 5 members from the House, 5 from the Senate, and 5 from the United States Supreme Court. This committee shall take a minimum of 10 days to conduct an independent audit and investigation into the electoral proceedings, and shall take such additional time as may be reasonably necessary to effectuate the purposes of this statute. So that's all he was doing. He was actually calling for following the law, not breaking the law. But of course, mainstream media has completely abdicated its responsibility to enlighten the American public and inform them of their laws and report accurately upon such laws and their execution or failure to be executed, and in fact functioned as a propaganda engine for the far left and spread the very false lie that no such requirement under the law existed. So this law was passed in 1877. It's still on the books, and it was supposed to be implemented, but the call for it to be implemented is now taken as a call for insurrection, which is another farce because, by the way, all of these laws that apply to a U.S. citizen and his rights, there is an exception in 2 instances when they may not apply, and that is 1, when there is an invasion, and 2, when there is an insurrection. So in anticipation for somebody downstream saying, we are going to deprive American citizens of their rights as a governmental policy, Big Brother morphed into tranny Big Sister, I suppose, we're going to start inuring the public to contemplating the wrong by labeling it an insurrection. 180 people is not a damn insurrection. It is just a protest, and basically the protest consisted of criminal trespass. So we now have morphed from criminal trespass to a great conspiratorial thing to overthrow the government by insurrection with 180 people who are a minuscule blip in reality when it comes to 360 some million residents and citizens of the United States. And in the face of this huge military machine, and in terms of the thousands upon thousands of law enforcement officials present in and about the Washington, D.C. area.
This is a summation of the immunity case and stuff like that. All right,
Yes.
just to make sure. Well, I want to bring this one last thing with Eric Holder because money laundering, the HSBC Bank, too big to jail, right? They were cleaning money for a lot of drug cartels, and it was under his watch. And when he stepped down and Loretta Lynch took over, she was then in charge of this case, and only thing happened, he ordered the bankers to pay $1 billion fine, right? Which she was instructed to by Eric Holder. So, listen, just to swing it back to him, how dare he automatically try to come to his own judgment as if it's a legal fact to Donald Trump, to where he has a whole bunch of skeletons in his closet, far worse than what he's accusing Donald Trump of. So he should have prosecuted Obama, but at the same time, he should have been investigated just like a Fani Willis, because you allowed a bank to clean money, knowingly clean money for drug cartels, and you didn't prosecute no executive, no banking executive, anyone. You just gave him a fine. So how many guns and drugs flooded the United States because you allowed it under your watch? Now we have a serious fentanyl crisis that just did not happen overnight. So a lot of times when we talk about these crises, when it comes to the war on drugs, it does start at the top with these banks. And the Attorney General knew all about it and did nothing. So
Yeah, and why'd you do nothing? You violated your oath to prosecute violations of law. So yes, sanctimonious bullshit.
Right. Next topic. All right, we got a couple more things, just a couple more things. And the reason why I'm going through these topics, because I chop them up and I upload it. So this is mainly for uploads. Next week is going to be a really big week, and the viewership will definitely be much better. But anyway,
by the way, this is necessary. Somebody in mainstream media ought to be doing what I'm doing right now, breaking down the law. Now, I hear what I hear a lot of is rank amateurs postulating a very minority position, very much minority positions on certain aspects of the law that's way wrong. We saw this recently when the American Medical Association, Psychiatric Association, clinical psychologists, sociologists, etc., issued that statement that what has been bandied about relative to the fluid gender nonsense is in fact nonsense. That is a very, very, very minority position, but yet the public has been badly misled into thinking that it is normalcy. It is not, and the overwhelming, tremendous majority of the medical and psychiatric and psychological professions think the exact opposite. So we're issuing a policy statement to clarify that. That's what I'd say about the law. We're getting a very rank, one-sided exposition of crap.
Well, you know what's happening, because, before we get into this next topic real quick, there are a lot of content creators who are doing a lot of content on a YSL trial. And some of them are lawyers and some of them are regular content creators that know nothing. They have no legal background. And what I see them doing is they're not utilizing their legal expertise. They will put up, because remember the other show on Monday, and it was like, why don't you read the petition that the lawyer like Brian Still, submitted to have the judge recused? And I said, well, why would I sit up here and have the judge like pull it up on the screen and have him go through it and read it to you guys when he just summed it up, what it was and what will be the outcome? So that's what the other content creators are doing. They are pulling it up on the screen and they're going paragraph per paragraph.
And they don't understand it.
Well, the lawyers, wait 1 second. The lawyers who are the content creators, they understand it, but the people want you to read to them.
Yeah, it's crap.
And the ones
I don't need to read that. I'll just tell them what it means.
Yeah, and that's why I was trying to. But see, And so the content creators who are not lawyers or not legal, have no legal background, they're reading it and they're being very extra, right?
Yeah,
But
and
they
they're
don't know
being
what they're
all
reading.
prim and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And half the
Right.
ones that are
Because
supposed to be lawyers don't know shit about it either because they haven't done their apprenticeship by trying
and
cases
then they
in
may
front
be
of
too
juries.
scared to really dive into it because they're active lawyers. They want clients. But let me just throw this out there. There's one particular content creator, and I think she's doing a great job, Melanie King. And I'll watch one of her videos. Pamela keeps sending us her videos, and it's like I'm thinking it's something new, and it's not because you already covered it. But I watched the first 5 minutes of her video, and she's like, and she's so dramatic with her face expressions, and then she's like, "Oh my God." The cops or the sheriffs that were in the meeting with them, they cut off their body cam in the courtroom in the meeting. And it's like, yeah, why would they keep them? She was being very dramatic over something that was nothing.
Bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. And but you do that to grab the attention of the audience. So I get it, right?
And then the courts usually have a thing, none unauthorized recordings. The recording shall be from a uniform source, so there is no confusion about what was said or done.
Exactly.
Let me give you an example. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, on June 17th of the year 2023, without provocation nor any perceived justification, the defendant in this cause, Williams, struck another party a foul blow which caused injury, thereby committing the offense of assault under the laws of the state of so-and-so.
Right.
Okay, sounds complex. Let me break it down. Yay, ladies and gentlemen, what happened is last year, Willie went all upside Jamal's head and did a ooh-wee on him. Now, that's what it means. So if somebody is telling you that, why the hell read the garbage?
Right. It's so okay. So the audience, when they come here and we talk about whether it's Fani or we talk about YSL and it's like legal docs, they're watching Melanie, they're watching lead attorney, and they kind of want you to have go through the same concept of it. And it's like, no. So I said that to say Judge Joe Brown is not going to read you a petition. That's just not going to happen here.
Hey, wait a minute, wait. None of these people you're talking about have been in this profession for more than a half century. They didn't graduate.
Well, some of them they're not in law.
Yeah, and they didn't graduate from UCLA Law School. They did not try all of these cases. They did not deal with the appeals. They didn't make law. And they don't know shit because they're functionaries and they have too limited a set of experiences to bring to the table. So when I tell you something, I'm not listening to a rookie try and come up with some crap to impress you with what he is supposed to know when somebody that knows it says this dude doesn't know shit.
Right.
Now, there I go. I lapsed off from being technical and erudite and, shall we say, behaving as a professor, which I tend to do sometimes.
Right. And basically, especially if it's an attorney and they haven't tried any RICO cases, right?
Tried any cases.
And then, but majority of the content creators that are covering YSL they're not in the legal field, never have been, and have no legal knowledge, but they are being dramatic for entertainment purposes. So I say all that to say, you guys, when you come here, you're not going to get that. You're going to get him talk about the law, the facts of the law in details. He doesn't need to read a petition. Now, today, one of the other attorneys for another defendant on the YSL case trial the lawyer Weinstein filed a petition to remove Judge Glanville as well. So you have two different lawyers with two different defendants on the same RICO case filing a petition to remove this judge. So, this trial may end up in a mistrial, but like we had Ms. Linda on earlier, and this judge, his corruption or his his not corrupt. I don't want to say corruption, but just his messiness goes back. So,
let me say this: to cut to the chase, this judge messed this case up so badly with his ex parte situation that the only appropriate resolution is a mistrial. Anything that happens from that point on is just a waste of time, unless by chance a jury acquits everybody, in which case there's no appeal from the acquittal. That's it. So if the jury does not acquit everyone, then you've got an appeal situation that says we wasted more weeks, more days, more time, more resources on nonsense because the judge screwed it up. I'm not saying he's the worst I've seen. He's certainly not. But the whole idea of trying to sanction a lawyer because he's questioning about an ex parte hearing, which is a no-no anyway, except under certain circumstances. And it is the polite thing to do, the wise thing to do, the ethical thing to do, to advise everyone we had an ex parte conference and the court is going to rule that the subject matter is to remain confidential for a number of reasons. However, the court does advise that the following meeting took place. Now, as I told you, one of the more common reasons for such things to happen in a criminal trial is a defense lawyer is bringing it to the court's attention that his client is lying and he does not want to engage in the ethical misconduct of assisting his client in lying. So once he brings that to the attention of the court, let's say if that's what the subject is, which is the most frequent, then what winds up happening is the judge gives special instructions and allows the lawyer to get away from what they call the narrative testimony prohibition, which means letting the defendant tell his or her own story without being prompted by questioning.
Mm-hmm.
So the lawyer doesn't participate. That kind of thing happens. There are also some other things. For example, what
we gotta move on to the next
judge,
topic.
yeah, well, this is quick. What the judge might do is have an ex parte hearing, but have the court reporter report on it so that it is available for the appellate review. A lot of times this happens when you have a minor who has some very troubling evidence that is embarrassing to the minor without the minor being able to protect him or herself. So there are rules you go through that you have to follow.
All right. Let's move on. What is this? Oh, Chicago.
Oh, yes.
Meantime, Chicago's Mayor Johnson vowing more help for victims of gun violence. He announced a more than $6 million expansion of the Emergency Victims Fund. NBC5's Christian Farr has the story.
I think it's excellent because this is a big impact on the family.
Victims of Chicago's ongoing violence are applauding a move by Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration that will provide more money to grieving families who have to figure out what to do after losing a loved one.
You have to worry about funeral costs. You have to worry about the cemetery. You have to worry about the burial. You have to worry about the church. You know, that's just the important part.
This crisis did not show up with simply a bullet. This crisis showed up when previous administrations decided to give up on these communities.
This morning, Mayor Johnson talked about how his Office of Community Safety is working with the city's Department of Public Health to expand its Emergency Supplemental Assistance Fund to a total of 15 communities impacted by gun violence. Financial assistance includes up to $1,000 for basic needs, up to $1,000 for temporary relocation costs, and up to $1,500 for funeral or burial costs. Gun violence victim Kevin Edwards says he has benefited from the program.
It was a helpful resource. I needed it. I couldn't walk, couldn't do nothing for like 3-4 months. And the program is beneficial.
It's not just about having police officers surveil neighborhoods. It's about making sure that we are surrounding neighborhoods with love. And the best way you demonstrate love is to invest in people.
Those who work with victims consistently hope that this program expands because they say that people are impacted by violence all across this city.
day in and day out. Homicide doesn't take a holiday or a vacation, right? So it's 24/7, and every family deserves it.
At 35th and Michigan, Christian Farr. And
so
I find that bullshit because you know what? They're not doing anything to prevent the problem from reoccurring.
Yes.
They're not teaching manhood. They're not teaching character. They're not teaching responsibility, nor accountability, nor consequence. It's do any damn thing you want. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to deal with a vigorous education in school to prepare you for the future. Nobody wants to hold you to standards. They're trying to get rid of guilt, shame, and a personal feeling and reflection on what you do and saying anything goes. These son of a bitches have been pushing this bullshit for 50 damn years, so nobody has any principles, no precepts, no standards, and as John Wick's series says so eloquently, the rules separate us from the animals. So when you have no damn rules except pity for somebody who has been done wrong by something that was preventable through the exercise of character, you dig your own hole, you get in there with the shit, and you dump more on you because your solutions become parts of the problem.
Right.
Now, it's sickening what I hear. I feel for the families, but somebody needs to say it's the family's responsibility for raising these little terrorists running around acting crazy. It's the family's responsibility for not paying attention to the obligations of parenthood and saying, I have a right to enjoy myself. Somebody will be taking care of my kids. It's a family not being held accountable when other members of the family have to farm out 5, 6, 7 kids and take care of them because mama doesn't know shit about being a parent or even being an adult. See, these kind of things have to be dealt with when it's nobody's business. We just heard this the other day, didn't we? When somebody wanted to talk about interfering with somebody's right to be a parent, and they don't have any idea how to be one. They don't have any idea about duty, honor, responsibility, accountability, consequence, and they don't know any damn thing at all and just raise weeds who go out there and prey on the community and have no standards. See, that's sickness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I had to deal with this for a half century as a business every damn day of the week.
Did you hear about the mayor in Oakland being arrested by the FBI?
Yes, it's interesting.
What do you think that is about?
I have no idea. I might look into it if I get bored. But the other thing, did you see this where the CNN personality has been a fugitive and got caught?
No.
After some years.
Oh.
I didn't pay much attention to the names. I just looked at it and said, oh, Crying Negro Network. And he was a Negro too.
Wait, CNN fugitive. Let me pull up. He worked for CNN.
Well,
what was he? Former CNN employee, producer, pleads guilty. Sentenced to 19 years. I don't know, but
and he's been a fugitive for a while.
You know what I wanted to bring up real quick? I wanted to go back to Trump, and I wanted to bring up people like Al Sharpton and
Chicken eating Sharpton.
Yeah. Because they keep calling Trump saying that he's a racist or whatever.
And Sharpton used to kiss his ass, always be playing court, practically want to kiss his hand in all those New York clubs all the time. Oh, big chicken pussy. He needs to go back home.
But let me just quickly play this clip.
Absurdity of Donald Trump acting like he did something. As you know, Joe, I knew Donald Trump for 35 years, fought with him, went to meet with him, tried to get him to do things. I've never seen a black employee in Donald Trump's office, not one. I used to say going up Trump Towers is like going up the Rocky Mountains. The higher you got, the wider it got. You didn't see one black employee at his trial.
Yeah, he got a
he did
Negro
what
up in
for
there
blacks? He didn't do it
kissing
as a
ass.
private
Come on,
citizen
Al.
and as Steve Ratner's
Come on,
child show.
Al. You
He
kissed
didn't
a
do it
lot of
as the
ass.
president.
So
Kissed all that ass. What did he not give you? What did you do? You want to suck him off or something?
Al Sharpton is not bringing up the fact that back in the day, Donald Trump gave him $50,000 to make sure he could pay the people on his payroll at National Action Network or whatever when he first started. And then you have, this was Jesse Jackson, right? This had to be probably in like the 90s. Jesse Jackson praising Donald Trump for helping Black and minority communities. I guess I'll play this clip.
We know that, right? He's a terrific guy. We love him, and I'm here for him. And the snow came, and I said, gee, nobody's going to show up. And look at this place, it's packed. Well, I just say a few words. I mean, Wall Street and New York City and this whole region is doing unbelievably well. I'm building a job on the West Side, which is the largest job ever approved by the New York City Planning Commission. You see it going up along the West Side Highway. It's almost 10 million square feet. It's 18 buildings, and it's really going to be something. I will tell you, a large percentage of the people, and especially in construction, that are building these great jobs are Black and minorities, and I'm very proud of it. We have close to 25%, and I think the number's going up, and they do a great job. There are no better builders than we have in New York, and a big percentage of that is Black and minority folks. So I just want to thank everybody in the room for being here. I look forward to some questions, and then I don't know how we're ever going to leave this building today, because if you look outside, it is terrible, but we'll figure a way. There's always a way, and thank you, Jesse, and congratulations.
And with all of that wealth, Trump wants a free ticket to the fair tonight.
You can't make this up. Now, did you catch the part when Reverend Jesse Jackson?
I don't feel like playing what somebody is saying. But anyway.
Yeah, bottom line is America seems to hate somebody that's an individual success as long as it's not clowning on some athletic court. So it's okay for a corporation to do it. It's okay for an individual who does it if he contributes to the rainbow cult like Soros or somebody like that. But if you stand up for what's right, the family masculinity, and you're a success, they hate you. They love it when you're struggling, but when you get there, they hate you because you are a sign of success versus their failure. So it's interesting.
And so now you have the Republicans trying to, get Black voting support. And this clip was very interesting as well.
This part's important. It's important because we have never dedicated significant assets to turning out the Black vote. We haven't, and we should. Now you know that this has been absolutely an untapped resource of liberty and freedom that we've just ignored shamefully. It's there. We just have to go and grab it and say, we're here for you. Look, you are welcome. Not only welcome here, you are wanted here desperately.
So he has, what is this, Dan Bongino show. I guess he's a conservative, a Republican, and he's basically saying, listen, that is a very strong, untapped resource, the Black community. So why are you ignoring the Black community? Reach out to the Black community, invite them in. And I absolutely agree with him.
Let me put it this way. What we're looking at is something unusual. We're looking at a viable third party. Make America Great Again is distinguished from the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. We have an alliance right now because MAGA as a party is developing from the Republican Party, but when it splits off, if it does that, it's not going to be the same. There are significant differences. And there is this thing that has been happening in American politics and law for quite a few decades. And it's gotten to the point where things have drifted to poles. There is an extreme polarity out there that MAGA sort of brings everybody in. You put on the red cap and that identifies you. And it is an interesting thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops.
Yeah. I want to bring this to, I don't know if you heard of this, but Steve Harvey, when Kamala Harris was down in Atlanta for the, what was it, the Black Men Conference or whatever, you know, listen, Democrats, they are organized when it comes to pandering to the Black voters. They have it down pat. For Republicans, they're not used to doing it. So they need the right people to get it together. But anyway, so this is some
The Democrats were used to managing their niggers down on the plantations and on the sharecropping farms and in the southern towns with Sheriff Bubba whooping butt when one of them got out of line, and the Republicans never did that. So I guess they fell behind.
Right. So this is remarks that Steve Harvey said when it comes to reparations. And then I want to play a clip of him asking Kamala Harris a specific question.
If we don't vote, how are we going to ask for something next time? If you ain't got no voting power, you talking about reparations. Ain't nobody finna give you no reparations and you don't vote. Well, you think they finna give us some money? No, how, man. I hope they do. They owe us. I go down there.
Now, I don't disagree with him on that. I do agree.
Yeah, but you know what he touched on that we observe. What is it? How you gonna vote? Couch. I'm voting couch.
Yeah,
You've been listening to that? You notice, in other words, sit home on the couch and not go vote. There is an interesting correlation between the number of people who are fervently for reparations who have no intention of voting, which is the dumbest goddamn thing I have heard in a long time.
Right. Well, this is another clip, right? When he asked her, what is she doing after this, right? And the reason why I wanted to play this because I have a follow-up picture of the show.
Yeah, I'm in these streets.
I'm dead.
What's your schedule after this? So I just flew in from Washington, D.C. After I leave here, I go back to Air Force 2 to go back to D.C. And then about 4 hours later, I get back on the plane, go to Switzerland to do a few meetings there regarding what's happening
and embarrass the country
in Europe, and particularly what's happening with Ukraine.
And embarrass the country.
Wait, let me finish, because that's the point that I need for people to hear.
Switzerland to do. So I just flew in from Washington, D.C. After I leave here, I go back to Air Force 2 to go back to D.C. And then about 4 hours later, I get back on the plane, go to Switzerland to do a few meetings there regarding what's happening in Europe, and particularly what's happening with Ukraine. And then I will do those meetings and then come right back.
Me and Marjorie going to Croatia Tuesday.
Yeah, Steve is such a buffoon. But the reason why I wanted to play that is because she says she's going to Switzerland to deal with Ukraine. Well, what is happening in Ukraine? Missiles. We're sending missiles. Well, Switzerland, Patriot missiles intended for Switzerland will go to Ukraine. So I was trying to make that correlation. She's going to Switzerland to deal with some shit with Ukraine because, yeah, you're sending weapons from Switzerland to Ukraine, funded by the United States.
Well, you know what the connection is.
And he's sitting up here and said, well, basically, can I hop on your plane because me and my wife going to Croatia?
Well, you know what the connection is. SIG, as in Sig Sauer, is a Swiss company. Sig Sauer makes the Mardus 50 caliber machine gun along with FN Browning right now. That's Belgian, by the way. Sig Sauer makes the current M17 pistol issued to the armed forces, the M18 pistol issued to the armed forces. It makes the new M5 assault rifle to be issued to the armed forces. It makes the new M250 general purpose machine gun to be issued to the armed forces. It makes a huge contribution in terms of small arms and artillery shells that it deals with. So yeah, they're trying to arm Ukraine, and it would be natural to go to Switzerland, where one of the major arms manufacturers for the United States is headquartered. It's a Swiss company, but they are now doing business in the United States. So yeah, I'm not surprised. That's the backstory, and here you go. Wowie whoop-de-doo. When's our mainstream media gonna report on such things?
Right, because I think that was a slip up for her.
She's a slip up generally. We've got
Oh, because she remember she was hesitant. Well, I'm getting back on Air Force 2, girl. We know that, duh. I'm going back to DC 4 hours, then to Switzerland. Then she tried to think of to deal with blah blah blah. Oh, Ukraine, like girl, bye.
We've got buzzard bait Biden. He's baiting the buzzards. They're waiting for him to hurry up and die. We've got Hyena Harris getting there thirsting off of crunching on the bones. And we've got the vultures in the Democratic Party waiting for something to hurry up and die so they can scoop it up.
Well, I think this is going to be the last topic here, right? This is Morgan Freeman talking to Elon Musk, basically asking about Mars.
Why Mars?
Which sounds mad, I know that.
No, it doesn't sound
yeah.
mad. It just sounds difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
So what is it about Mars that makes it even plausible?
Well, and Mars is similar in a lot of ways to Earth. Certainly, one would call it a fixer-upper of a planet, but it's possible to establish life as we know it on Mars. And if you were to warm Mars up and then convert the carbon dioxide atmosphere to oxygen, which plants do naturally, then over time we could make Mars look a lot like Earth.
So Morgan Freeman was just asking Elon Musk, why Mars? What about Mars make it plausible, And he was basically saying Mars is similar in a lot of ways to Earth,
Yeah, it is. It had an asteroid collision that sort of set stuff back. Life seems to have originated on it at least twice, but got wiped out. They are very excited about getting confirmation that there was open water where you can see the fossilized signs of wave action in what used to be sediment on a shallow sea. You see a lot of water flow patterns. You see geological and geographic features that are associated with running water. So it's a matter of appropriate curiosity. How is it that Earth, which had a similar background, also Venus, winds up being the only one that's habitable to what we call life right now, when Venus looks like it was at one time, though it got hit and its rotation got slowed drastically. And Mars seems to have been struck several times, and things never got back to what they used to be. So from a place covered by water and oceans, which probably had life, it's kind of dead now. Venus is a boiling hellhole where it rains mercury. Can you imagine mercury drops falling out of the sky? Interesting. So we won't stop screwing, and our population keeps growing. So maybe we need more time to work it out, and there's a whole new planet up there we could go up and deal with if it doesn't have something remaining from some time in the past to get us a nice little horror story going.
Okay, I don't know why somebody chat. Well, let us go to the chat super chats. It's only a couple. Slow tonight. It wouldn't Philly said it wouldn't let me super chat my last comments. I don't know. Well, depending on what were you saying in the comments. YouTube is funny. Keena, Judge Joe Brown, I have my picture with you 25 years ago. You were speaking at Virginia Tech for Black History Month. I've been a fan for years. Girl, where that picture at so I could give it to him? You remember speaking there?
Yes. I spoke at a lot of historical Black colleges and universities and facilities back when. They don't want me now because I'm not rainbow. But, you know, touched on the censorship, this Nazism, this fascism that we are all being exposed to now on the social venue platforms. And I find it telling that the United States is cozying up to Ukraine, and everybody else in the world knows that Russia's over there because it's on a mission to smack down Nazism that is resurgent in the Ukraine. Historically, Stalin did not allow the Nuremberg trials to deal with Nazism in Ukraine because Ukraine had been the biggest republic in the Soviet Union. So he said he was going to take care of it, but he never did, or he died before he could. So most of those Ukrainian leaders we see with the open collar shirts, you know, meeting with American officials 10, 12 years ago, when you saw their pictures and their wife beaters, they had all of these Nazi swastikas and Nazi paraphernalia images tattooed all over them. So,
well, and now
yeah.
we have what's his name? Kim Jong and Putin taking a joyride in North Korea because they build an alliance.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Maybe that's why we're planning to go to Mars, because I guess Americans don't want to be here when
well, you might not make it because of the idiot diplomacy that's going on in this administration and in the Obama administration. We gave away our heavyweight munitions, and we have very low stocks. The Pentagon saying we couldn't fight but a few days before we ran out. We've got one missile that was being touted as the solution to a lot of things, but it turns out our production scale is only 125 a year. And we would run through the 2,000 or 3,000 we had in less than a week. So at 125 a year, that's not going to do much of anything after the first 4 or 5 days of combat. And China has committed itself to being prepared to launch an invasion of Taiwan, which it claims as its own sovereign territory by no later than 2027, which is 2.5 years from now. So we got a mess.
Well, thank you, Kat. She was saying in the chat that Judge Joe, UFO / off-world tech, please tell all. I don't get that. We're not talking about
Okay, well, let me say this. Does it have to be off-world? What if somebody in the future has perfected time travel, and these are times right now when it's a nexus, perhaps in future human history, it would be some place for them to come back and visit. So maybe you're not dealing with ET extraterrestrial UFOs, you're dealing with the Earth vessels that just happen to be time travelers. Try that on for size.
I want to say thank you to about it Diaz for the Cash App. I would just say Lodi, Justin and Jeff and Michael and Anthony. That's from a couple of days ago. Thank you so much for the Cash App. Listen, guys, it was it was a good show. Especially, I want to say thank you to Miss Linda and Mr. Paul for coming on. Exposing us to the Trevion Reed case. Judge, get that Wi-Fi fixed. But thank you to the guests. Always love having the guests. And thank you everybody sending a donation. Love you guys. Everybody in the chat. I love my moderators. Everybody listening. Everybody on X. X is popping. We went over. I don't want to keep doing this every Thursday. So you're going to have to start logging in like 10 minutes before. And we're going to have to figure something out. But first of all, I'm starting the show at 8:30 next week. I'll be here on time because next week, Thursday, is the debate. Monday,
You want to call that a debate? Is going to be a farce.
It doesn't matter. We're going to be recording it live.
You know how Trump can mess up the buzzard bait, boy? Everybody agreed to be checked so that they don't have a transmitter on board, a de-scrambler, so somebody can't get fed through an IFB that looks like a small hearing aid what to say.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I'm not going to even play the exit music because I'm kind of tired. And I have to prepare some stuff for tomorrow. But thank you guys. I had to put a couple people on timeout. You lucky I didn't hide you. You want to put some respect on my name. And if you can't, you are out of here. Anything you want to say in closing, Judge?
Hey, hang in there. Acquire, receive, digest, and analyze information. The more you get, the better you are.
Okay. Thank you,
And don't forget the barbecue sauce.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. How can it's just be slipping my mind. I'm tired. That's why I'm like, honestly, we're going to have to starting the show at 8. I'm sorry. Because it's 9 o'clock. Like, that's kind of pushing it. Go to Amazon, get you some Judge L. Brown barbecue sauce, or you can go to the website, jjbbbq.com. The sauce is delicious. Go get the sauce. So anyway, we'll see you Monday, everybody. We'll be back on Monday. Good night. Bye. Happy weekend.